Good afternoon. My name is Donna Feazill, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications and Abundance Television, syndicated by using Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast, netsnewsnetwork.net. I have a very special friend with me right now. His name is Dr. Alan Mendenhall. And Alan, it's great to be with you. How are
Donna,
you doing today?
I'm doing very well. It's great to be with you too. I'm talking into just an isolated camera over here, but your image is here. So I may have the tendency to talk to your face, but I'll try to focus on the camera. But yeah, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great. But before we get started, I just wanted to say a word of congratulations here. Tell us about this.
Oh, thank you. It was quite an honor. I received an academic prize from the Heritage Foundation. And the Heritage Foundation had this notion that the academic environment is challenging for people who are generally conservative, who explore economic freedom, the dignity of the person, human flourishing, constitutional governance, national sovereignty, and all kinds of issues related to sort of traditional American freedom. And so they developed an academic prize that they would award to scholars they felt were doing work compatible with the work that the Heritage Foundation was doing. And so I was very honored and happy and surprised to be one of the recipients of the award, one of the inaugural recipients. So in a couple of months here, I'll go up to DC and spend some time up at the Heritage Foundation with some of my other fellow prize members, and we'll have an interesting time meeting each other and learning together and talking about our work.
Well, it's well deserved. I'm not a bit shocked.
Well, thank you. It was very, very kind of the committee to consider me alongside some people who are very prestigious and have accomplished great things. And I feel as if I'm still young and green by comparison to some of the recipients. So it was quite an honor.
Not me. Very well deserved. Absolutely. So you are the executive director at the Manuel H. Johnson Center for Political Economy. And I'm going to tell you what, you're my go-to guy for anything politics in general.
Well, thank you. I've always enjoyed being on the show. We've been doing this for a long time now, since 2016. It's funny because it doesn't feel like very long, but the years just keep spinning by.
Mm-hmm. Well, we never run out of topics. I mean, they're just kind of thrown at us. We don't even
I know. When I first started coming on the show, I would actually study and cram and make notes before I came on. And and now I've been on so many times, I just kind of roll with it.
Well, it's because you have all this great experience. Now, you are involved in a lot of different, I mean, the topics are there. We've talked a lot about the government and what we're in for, the economy, about how that whole thing has changed since COVID hit. That was another turnaround for us. And I mean, so many things have happened. It's just almost like a roller coaster ride. And I mean, it's all there. But now you've been speaking a lot lately about Blackrock. You want to go ahead and start that topic?
Sure. Yeah, happy to do it. Blackrock is the principal driver of ESG, which is the acronym standing for Environmental, Social, and Governance, which is principally a movement within finance, investment, and banking. It derived from a conference hosted by the United Nations and the government of Switzerland back in 2004 called Who Cares Wins, with the idea that they were going to try to get big asset managers and proxy advisors and others in banking and government to buy into this notion that ESG could drive social and sustainable goals. BlackRock is the world's largest asset management firm and it has about $10 trillion of assets under management. So a lot of money. You'll hear the term the big three used to describe BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. Together, they own close to 20 trillion. I say own, they manage close to $20 trillion. So they have around $20 trillion of assets under management. BlackRock advocates ESG and sustainable investment, perhaps to mask some of the shadier areas in which it's involved.
Mm-hmm. That's where I'm going. Yeah.
Yeah, it's involved in the weapons industry. It's involved with China. It's the first sort of U.S. Company to be able to get into the mutual fund industry in China. It pours investments into the Chinese economy. Two companies in particular, one's called Hikvision, one's called iFlyTech. They are Chinese surveillance companies that have been implicated in the persecution of the Uyghur Muslims in China.
Mm-hmm.
But BlackRock's whole business model is designed around getting government business. During the pandemic, for instance, the Federal Reserve hired BlackRock to advise on how it could stabilize the bond market.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of that deal, the Federal Reserve was able to buy ETFs, exchange traded funds from BlackRock. So this is like the definition of cronyism. This is I scratch my back, you scratch your. It was the other way around. You scratch my back, I scratch yours, or whatever. But this is cronyism at the highest levels, and it's not just the U.S. government that BlackRock is contracted with. It's contracted with the British Treasury, the Swiss National Bank, the European Central Bank, the government of Greece, and BlackRock exercises its influence not just through its investment strategies by investing in ESG-weighted portfolios, but also by going out and buying shares of publicly traded companies and then engaging the boards of directors of those companies to try to push those companies into politics, in particular into leftist politics, or into policies that are ESG. The more that BlackRock can push other companies into ESG, the more BlackRock's ESG investments help. So there's a nefarious conflict of interest that goes on. There are also breaches of fiduciary duty that go on when BlackRock invests, for example, state pension money in underperforming ESG funds. That's another way BlackRock is sort of government. It invests, municipal bonds and invests sovereign wealth funds. So oil-rich countries may have sovereign wealth funds, and BlackRock may invest those funds. And of course, state and federal pension money. We've had some states decide that they're going to divest from BlackRock, West Virginia and Florida and Texas. And I do not know this for sure, but I have heard that Alabama sort of silently divested from BlackRock, that young Boozer divested without making a big deal of it. He didn't make a big PR campaign out of it. He didn't issue press releases. He just silently withdrew from BlackRock. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not. That's just what I've been told. I have also heard from an attorney that did an open records request with the RSA, seeking any records they would have regarding the RSA's involvement with BlackRock. And RSA responded with nothing. We don't have any involvement with BlackRock. So perhaps that's true. But another example, this is going back a ways, but after the 2008 financial crisis, the U.S. Treasury Department hired BlackRock to manage the toxic assets involved in that crisis. The Federal Reserve handled the debt settlement of Bear Stearns. So BlackRock has made its business model on working in concert with government, and that's how it operates. That's how it gets its business. And I was on a show in Sri Lanka a few days ago. It hasn't aired as of when we sit here and talk right now. It hasn't aired, but the interview occurred already. And the reason the program wanted to ask me about BlackRock is because apparently BlackRock was getting into the government bond market and buying up a bunch of government bonds in Sri Lanka. And they wanted to know, why is BlackRock doing that in our country? And my answer was, well, because that's what their business model is. And they're taking some hits here in the United States because people are starting to wake up to the reality of what BlackRock is and does, and they're starting to push back. So they're just looking for new markets. And this is their business model, to work with government money.
Well, let me ask you a question too. And this, it really pertains to a particular word. And I'm looking at their website right now, but it says, this is the word regime.
Oh, interesting.
When you think of the word regime, do you think of that as a private company, just like a Donna in Feazill Associates, or do you think of it more as a spider web around the government type of a company?
I would say the latter. I mean, when I hear the word regime, I tend to think of, military associations and sort of nefarious government. I would call, Saddam Hussein's regime or something like that. That's sort of how I think of
the Joe Biden regime. Sorry.
Yeah, is that the term BlackRock actually uses for itself? That's sort
I
of
wonder.
frightening.
Yes, it does. And
Wow.
that caught me. That particular word, if that not, does that not spout something out to you? I mean, it's like new regime, new opportunities.
Well, it's not. It's surprising that they would be that open with it, but that would, as a pejorative, that would be the term that I might use for BlackRock. So it's interesting that they're just embracing it. But yeah, I think it's a fitting term actually, because if you look at the sort of coordinated efforts that BlackRock is involved in, they include the World Economic Forum, which meets in Davos, Switzerland all the time, and the Business Roundtable, which in 2019 purported to redefine the purpose of corporations away from profit maximization and toward the stakeholder model of government of corporate governance, which allegedly enables companies to pursue sustainable good or to give back to the world or to make the world a better place, or all these sort of flowery language things that sound really good that people would say, oh, that sounds wonderful. May as well throw in apple pie and America and everything else in there. It sounds great, but really they're sort of meaningless signifiers. And
Speaking of great things, I'm out in the country. I chose to get away from all the hustle and bustle.
I thought I heard a little rooster. Is that what was? I hear some
So my
cockadoodles.
studio is in the country, okay? 38 acres of land. That's where I love to be.
I'm going to be joining you pretty soon and buying some land. And my wife has 50 chickens right now, and so I'm used to that cockadoodle doing. That is.
He's jealous. This is a very jealous rooster. And
what kind of chickens are they?
We just have all kinds, but this is a beautiful rooster, and he knows he's all that in a bag of chips.
He's showing off
he listens to me talk, he gets right outside my studio window every single time.
Well, you should tell him he's a little late. The sun came up a long time ago.
He doesn't care. He doesn't go by time like the rest of us do. But why are more people doing this? As a matter of fact, my friends in Charlotte can hardly believe this. They said, we saw you with your suits on and all this stuff all the time, and now you're on a farm. Why are you doing this? And I said, well, I had the farm in me all that time. I just, didn't have time for it, but I'm making time now.
Well, I think one reason that I'm considering it, well, besides the obvious, which is that my wife grew up on a farm. She's from Fort Deposit, and her parents still live on many, many acres, and she wants us to have horses and animals, and she's got 50 chickens, as I mentioned. Right now, my house is on a golf course, and so you can't have 50
no, that doesn't work.
So we're having to go find some land, and that way we can have the 50 chickens on there. But I think it'll also be a little bit of a stress alleviation, getting out kind of in nature and getting away from the hustle bustle a little bit, and just enjoying solitude and quiet. I mean, you don't get just a lot of quiet these days. We live in such a noisy culture. Even the 24-hour news cycle can be, it can be overbearing after a while. It can weigh you down, and sometimes it's nice to just get an escape and go out and sit on the porch and read a book.
Mm-hmm. It really is. And we're all looking for stress relievers right now. And I'm in the business. I have to know what's going on. So you can imagine I have to be in the news. I have to know what it is.
Me too. I'm in the same boat, Donna. I have to follow the news, follow the media, have to be in the know. But it sure is nice to unplug, so to speak. I'm not exactly going off the grid, but
I'm considering it. The people who live off the grid, I used to think were really strange and weird. I'm beginning to figure this. They are the smartest people you will ever meet. I mean, they got it going on. But a lot of it. So I'm this serious about it. So I've just finished taking some classes through Auburn University.
Oh, neat.
60-something years old. I can't get out of school. And so, but it's about gardening, it's master gardening, that kind of thing. And if you can do it, do it. Okay. You will learn so much. But the people I met in class are people who have moved in from all over the country. They're coming to Alabama because they can buy land at a very good price. And I'll have to tell you, they're not libs. Well, I had one lib in the class, but I could live with that. but they're fed up and they're tired. They're just, they miss the conveniences they had
Mm,
in the big city.
yeah.
Atlanta, New York, that's where these people are coming in from, and
Mhm.
from California. And people are looking for something. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. I think that most of the people coming here are coming here because of what we offer to them. And people that don't like what Alabama has to offer aren't going to come here. So I speak to people all the time who move here because of our politics and because they think we're open for business in a way that their states weren't. A lot of them moved here um, during and after COVID because they were so mad at their state for locking down, and they said, you know what, that's it, I'm done. Last straw. I know people who have moved here because their children weren't able to go to school in New York, and they came here because they said, look, we have learning loss going on. We got to go somewhere where we can put our kids in school, and Alabama doesn't exactly rank highly on national indices when it comes to our public school education, at least. And the people that I'm thinking of are actually parents of children in private schools. But I think having school actually operational is a better alternative than having kids just get online and Zoom in with their teachers. And fortunately, I think that's all behind us by now. But people are still mad about what happened. And now that the data are in, and now that we sort of know the severity of COVID, what it was, how it spread, and those kinds of things, and we're starting to realize we overdid it. We didn't need to lock down, and that in fact some of these lockdown measures may have caused the virus to be more potent than it would have been otherwise. It may have diminished the herd immunity and things like that. So I'm not a scientist, so I'm just speaking on what I read at sort of a surface level. But I think it's very telling that people are lining up to come to Alabama and to other red states as well. Texas and Florida, of course, are booming. They're the ones that everyone looks at, but there are states like Alabama. I mean, we've got the beaches, we've got the mountains, we got farmland, we've got all kinds of things to offer. We've definitely got football.
And very affordable. I mean, extremely affordable.
Absolutely.
It really is. I'm looking at Blackrock's site again, and I'm one of those that a word will just capture me.
Yeah.
I do that with books. I do that with everything. By the way, you're an author and a speaker, and we're going to be talking about that in a few minutes as well. But I'm looking at another word, and it's the word reset.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that? And can reset actually work both ways?
Well, so I'll tell you where the term the Great Reset comes from. There's the CEO of the World Economic Forum is a man named Klaus Schwab, and he wrote a book that talks about COVID-19 and the Great Reset. And he talks about the Great Reset being an opportunity for us to, like in a video game, hit the reset button. Let's start the economy. Let's start new. Let's adopt ESG and all these other measures. Let's be globally sustainable. One sort of perverse and kind of disgusting take from that book is that he kept referring to COVID as an opportunity. This is a pandemic. This is something. This is a sickness, and he kept referring to it as this is an opportunity to meddle with economies, to redefine the purpose of business, to adopt the stakeholder model of governance, to work with, coordinate private and public entities toward the good. And again, some of the ends that he purports to seek sound really great in theory or in the abstract, but he's making a lot of money peddling ideas that have actually quite nefarious consequences.
Well, talk to any restaurant owner. Talk with any of them. I have one of my sponsors called one day and said, I need to talk to you about something. I've got to stop the advertising. I never thought I would ever hear that phrase from him. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, am I not sending you business? And he said, no, you're sending business. The problem is I don't have enough employees to support the business you're sending me.
Oh, wow.
And so he had to close down one of his locations. hoping, now this is like two locations about 30 miles from each other, hoping the employees from the other location would come to this one needs to keep. That didn't happen either. You can ask any of my sponsors who run restaurants. They're not happy with any of this.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough time. It's interesting. You have young people who think that they're too, I guess, entitled to work jobs in fast food or restaurants or whatever. You've got this quiet quitting phenomenon, which the Wall Street Journal highlighted recently, but is now being highlighted by global media. So it's an international phenomenon. It's not something occurring just in the United States. It's occurring in a lot of places. And quiet quitting is basically where you have, it's a trend among Gen Z and millennials. And what happens is they go to work, but instead of putting in some sort of formal notice of leave, they're just gradually checking out until they're not doing any work anymore, and then eventually they stop working and just see how long they can continue to get paid before they just finally get fired. It's a strange.
I can't get it. Okay, I grew up in the 70s, and it was ambition. I was a runner. I loved running in class. I never made it to the number one. I was always like number two or whatever. You know what my parents taught me? They said, well, then I guess you need to work a little harder for next year, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I was not, well, poor little pitiful you should have been number one. No, I wasn't good enough to be number one. The number one person outdid me. So it was up to me to try to outdo them. That's called ambition. But now in the world we're in right now, that's almost an ugly word. You should not be ambitious.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel as if there are many tensions here. Because I'm still young enough to remember coming up through college and high school, and I'm 40 years old, and I feel as if the generation now, the young generation, let's say teenagers through 30, whatever generation you would lump that into, they are coddled. They are coddled, and they're treated with a sense of entitlement, or they have a sense of entitlement. However, I do think that it is also more stressful than ever for this generation to have to meet benchmarks and to have to achieve. And they are not on social media in the same way some of the older generations are. In other words, they're not getting onto Facebook. They may use Instagram and they're using some TikTok, but they prefer sort of the vanishing mode. They prefer to get on and do their thing and then get off. So they're using social media in some ways and a little more savvier than we do in our generations. However, they are also just accustomed to being surveilled. They have no notion of privacy in the way that we grew up having a notion where you were not just constantly being watched. And for them, their whole lives are monitored. They are on a screen. Their primary social interactions are done by iPhones rather than in person. They develop their friendships online on the internet before they meet people in person. And so it's just a very different world for them. And I think that creates a lot of tension and a lot of stress. And I think that some of the older generations have left these young generations with a terrible economy. I mean, I think the federal student loans were intended to be something to help people go to college who couldn't afford it. But as with all government intentions, they go awry. And what happened is universities took advantage of this ready availability of student loan money, and they just continued to hike tuition, so that more and more students had to be dependent on government money to subsidize their tuition. And the universities got bigger. They grew the number of administrators they have, so they had administrative bloat. They were paying deans and other administrators high salaries, and this just continued to create a problem. Now we've got a pretty serious student debt problem, which I do not believe would be solved by just mass student loan forgiveness. I don't think that's the answer. But I think universities probably need to be on the hook to some degree for defaults on loans. If they're gonna cause the tuition prices to skyrocket the way they have, then maybe they ought to be on the hook for students who are just completely unable to pay back their loans because they weren't given an education that gave them a return on investment. They didn't have the opportunity to go out.
Well, it's not fair to the rest of us who worked really hard and paid for it ourselves and didn't get in debt.
Exactly. Think about the person who just, like, maybe 1 month ago just finished off paying his student loans after 25 years, and then the next month, all of a sudden, boop, no, we're wiping it away, and that person can think, I just spent 25 years. Yeah,
it's true. And I worked and went. So, I mean, that's the way it was. Let's go into a commercial break. We're going to be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there, okay? At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Let Rhonda at Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC take the burden off you for all your tax needs. I know because Rhonda has been taking care of my business since 2013. I feel Rhonda works for me because she knows the direct questions to ask to better benefit my unique business in order for me to get back the biggest refund possible. Rhonda is an ongoing student, and she knows tax laws are in a constant change every year. Call 256-281-9903 for an appointment to take the dread out of getting your taxes done. Rhonda is located at 11968 U.S. Highway 431 in Boaz. Again, that number is 256-281-9903. And let Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC champion your personal and business taxes. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took MyPillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented MyPillow to bring you the best pillow in history, MyPillow 2.0. Because of all of you, MyPillow 2.0 has been a huge success, and now we're bringing you our best-selling Go Anywhere MyPillows with the same temperature-regulating technology. made with my patented adjustable fill and brand new cooling fabric. They're truly the next generation of MyPillow. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save over 60% on our MyPillow 2.0 4-pack special. You'll get 2 MyPillows and 2 Go Anywhere MyPillows, regular $259.92, now only $99.98. King size just $10 more. This is a limited time offer, so please order now.
The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Let Rhonda at Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC take the burden off you for all your tax needs. I know because Rhonda has been taking care of my business since 2013. I feel Rhonda works for me because she knows the direct questions to ask to better benefit my unique business in order for me to get back the biggest refund possible. Rhonda is an ongoing student, and she knows tax laws are in a constant change every year. Call 256-281-9903 for an appointment to take the dread out of getting your taxes done. Rhonda is located at 11968 U.S. Highway 431 in Boaz. Again, that number is 256-281-9903. And let Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC champion your personal and business taxes.
At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took MyPillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented MyPillow to bring you the best pillow in history, MyPillow 2.0. Because of all of you, MyPillow 2.0 has been a huge success, and now we're bringing you our best-selling Go Anywhere MyPillows with the same temperature-regulating technology. Made with my patented adjustable fill and brand new cooling fabric, they're truly the next generation of MyPillow. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save over 60% on our MyPillow 2.0 4-pack special. You'll get 2 MyPillows and 2 Go Anywhere MyPillows, regular $259.92, now only $99.98. King size just $10 more. This is a limited time offer, so please order now.
Good afternoon. We are back. My name is Donna, and I am your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications and Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Also, the podcast, netnewsnetwork.net. Alan Mendenhall is with me. By the way, Alan, if you get your feelings hurt, you do not want to go to that podcast, okay? Because people there, I'm just impressed that I'm actually in the midst of these folks of talk show hosts. They will tell it exactly like it is. So, and that's why we have you on the show. Now, you are an author and a speaker, so let's talk about that for a minute. You have several books. I've got your books, by the way.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. Well, yeah, I've got 2 new ones coming out. I have a novel coming out in, I believe, October. That's at least the scheduled date. And I've never written a novel before. So this is my first novel, and maybe the only one I ever write. It took a lot longer to write than other books because novels are so stylized and require certain prose, and you have to come up with the entire story yourself. So that will be coming out in October. And then I've got a book that will most likely come out in the fall as well on ESG, which is just a little primer on ESG that I'm co-authoring with someone named Scott Shepard, who's at the National Center for Public Policy Research in Washington, D.C. And we are working with the editors now to get that book ready for publication. And we're hoping we can have that in print by the fall. And again, that is a short book. It's just a primer on ESG, and it's designed to appeal to business people. We want it to be just sort of like an introduction to ESG for business people. And so those 2 books will come out in the fall. I believe that will be book number 8 and book number 9. So that's exciting.
Absolutely. And how can folks find your books?
The easiest way is you can just go on Amazon and type in my name, or just type in alanmendenhall.com, ALLENMENDENHALL.com. And my books are available by link through my website, and again through Amazon. But really, anywhere books are sold, as they used to say, that's where you can get them.
Absolutely.
Now that you don't have to go into a Barnes & Noble, you can just go to barnesandnoble.com and order it that way.
There you go. Have it sent right on in. We were talking right before we went into a break about reset. And I know there's a massive reset happening, and it's not the kind I like. I mean, it's however, I'm seeing another reset, and it's emerging, and it's the silent majority who has been so quiet all this time, and they're beginning to emerge. They're beginning to come out. And I'm seeing it I actually started seeing it happening within the school system, because I have, a lot of our listeners are sending me messages that they're taking their kids out of the regular schools, putting them in private school, and they are also homeschooling. That industry has just exploded. And I think it kind of went against what they were hoping it would do during the pandemic.
Yeah, certainly that was an unintended effect, wasn't it? And I think you're right. I think you're seeing a massive homeschooling, massive shift to private schools, all kinds of alternative schooling. And then the school choice movement is picking up steam. We had a school choice bill in the legislature this session here in Alabama that did not pass, but I can guarantee you there will be another one coming up because all the other red states are doing it. And Alabama tends to sort of lag behind what the other red states are doing, but it's been very popular in other states. These educational savings accounts that have been established in other states are very popular. And so I suspect we'll see some more legislation coming up in Alabama regarding that. But there was a poll, to your point. I don't recall if it came out this week or last week, but it's a recent poll regardless. And it was showing that America has become more socially conservative than it's been in a long time. And I suspect part of that has to do with the wokeification of corporate America, the sort of in-your-face politicization of everything, where you can't even go to a restaurant and drink out of a straw without making a political statement. I think people want to escape politics a little bit. Maybe this goes back to our point earlier about going and living on a farm. But when people see when there's Pride Month, and then there's this, and then there's that, and every month is dedicated to some social cause, and then several days out of each month are now holidays devoted to this or that, and everything's so politicized all the time. People are going to begin to push back. They're sort of sick of it. They don't want to just have to buy a pillow or buy a beard trimmer or buy a toothbrush because of the politics of some company. But that's where we are right now, where you have almost bifurcated markets. You've got parallel economies where you buy these products from these companies if you're conservative, and you buy those same products but from these companies if you lean left. And that is an odd polarization that only contributes to the fracture we have civically in this country, the sort of partisan fracture that we have.
But Alan, some of these companies have to be completely stupid. So let's just say I'm in the boardroom and I'm with, let's just use Bud Light for an example. Okay. And then someone says, I think we need to go woke. I think we need to have this man who dresses up like a woman be our spokesperson. I would be the one person in that conference room saying, excuse me, do you not know who our customers are?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Cracker Barrel doing the same thing. I mean,
even Chick-fil-A is falling into this. But yeah, it is silly. You remember the movie Big with Tom Hanks, of course. And it's a toy company, and they let the kid come in, and Tom Hanks is turned into an adult, but he's still got the mind of a child. And he's considered a genius because he knows how to play with all the toys. Like the companies have forgotten how the economy is driven. It's driven by consumers. This isn't a top-down thing, or it shouldn't be a top-down thing. It can only be a top-down thing if you expand the size and scope of government and corporations coordinate with government to control the market, then you can make it into a top-down thing. But that's not the way it should be, and that's not the way to make the market run as efficiently and effectively, and to provide goods and services as cheaply as possible for as many people as possible, which is what contributes to human flourishing in the long run. We need to return to a model, not that we've ever existed in a state where this was ever perfect, but at least we need to be working towards an ideal where consumers are driving business decisions, and they're setting prices and interest rates, and these things aren't being established by governments and in coordination with banks and whatever corporation the federal government has chosen to be the winner, or in whatever particular field or industry. So I agree with you. That's a long-winded way of saying that I agree with you, and I don't know what the solution is. There's not a simple solution, but people are exercising boycotts. Obviously, people quit buying Bud Light, and the Anheuser-Busch stock tanked and took some major hits on revenue. And I think that's a good thing. Consumers need to send signals to companies that you don't need to do this. We don't want you doing that.
But then you have some companies who never get it. Cracker Barrel a few years ago, decided to take the Duck Dynasty things out of their stores, which was a dumb mistake. And of course, they put them back in, but then they turned right around and did the same thing all over again with Pride. And by the way, I know people, okay, who are men, transgenders. I know them. I know them through business, and in Charlotte, North Carolina, most often. And they knew my thought process about that. They knew I didn't agree with it. I didn't hate them.
Sure. Right.
I mean, but they want to act as if people like me hate these folks, and I don't. I just, can you not just disagree with something without somebody getting it out on you that you hate people?
Well, and it's, if a grown consenting adult wants to dress in a manner that is more fitting for what traditionally was considered the different gender role, then that's that person making that voluntary decision. That's a very different thing from having drag queen story hour.
Absolutely. That I'm against.
For children, or even the Target merchandise. One reason it was so controversial is it was referring to sexual acts, but in little children, babies' clothing. I mean, a child shouldn't really have an awareness of sexuality until the body develops into a sexual being. And, certainly an infant has no notion of sexuality, but even young children don't either. They don't have sexual urges. They haven't gone through puberty, and to try to distort their way of thinking or influence the way they're thinking about sexuality before they even really understand what sex is very problematic. It's troubling.
Well, what are your thoughts about parents? Because, and I've seen a lot of footage here, state of Alabama, right here. We're not isolated. So in Montgomery, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, I mean, basically all over the state this past month, you will see these people at Pride events. Okay, if you don't know what sex you are, whatever, that's on you. That's nothing to me. However, there are parents who are bringing their 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds and whatever year olds to these events, and they're giving money to the children who are walking up, giving these people money. That's right there.
It's very clearly just an effort to brainwash young people. Even more disturbing is the sort of sexual reassignment surgeries going on with young people. Like a 7-year-old girl. Yeah, and it's funny because it wasn't that long ago. Let's say 20 years ago, where female genital mutilation was a big issue in human rights, and we were in the Western world concerned about. In particular, Middle Eastern countries that were mutilating, female sexual organs, and now we're doing that. Now we're doing that, and it's authorized and licensed and legal, and people are tinkering with sex organs of children who have not hit puberty yet, and that. To me, is such an odd shift. This started happening in Europe before it started happening in the United States, and now some of these children are grown, and they are beginning to sue doctors. So
they're messed up.
They're angry about it because they realized that they didn't have the agency. They weren't sophisticated enough. They didn't have the capacity to consent to such a procedure, to have the informed knowledge required to make permanent decisions decisions with permanent effects on your body. And so now you're starting to see these lawsuits in Europe pop up, and it will be interesting to see how they handle those, whether statutes of limitations will apply, whether doctors will be found liable for performing these surgeries, whether parents will be liable for pushing their kids into something that they weren't really able to consent to at that age. And I think we'll learn a lot from those trends in Europe about what will be coming here in 18 years, when some of the kids who have gone through transition surgeries at young ages grow up and they become in their 20 something years old, and they say, well, my parents pushed me into this for their political views. and not because I really thought I was a male or a female, or that my gender didn't match my biologically assigned sex. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but I suspect.
But wouldn't you think it's really, these people care less about whether somebody is confused about being a man or a woman. There's something bigger out there. There's a big tap root somewhere where all this is originating from. We're talking about that. We're talking about climate. We're talking about all of these things seem to be all they are is just the spokes to a wheel. But there's a wheel turner somewhere.
Well, there certainly are a lot of influential and wealthy people pushing it. And I think the ESG movement is in no small part a driver of these things. And it's a way to financialize these political movements. And it's a way where companies like Blackrock, which we spoke about earlier, can use government money, whether it's state pension money or even federal pension money or sovereign wealth funds, municipal bonds, whatever, and use the money in ways to invest in social causes with which many of the beneficiaries of, say, those pension funds disagree. You might have a Christian mom who's a public school teacher, and she has no idea that her pension money is going to subsidize Planned Parenthood indirectly, but nonetheless for that cause. And that's deeply troubling, and raises all kinds of ethical problems about what people can do with other people's money.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's talk about the economy right now. Would you say, because from the Biden administration, that we have a better economy than we ever thought we were going to ever have on planet Earth in the history of time? Would you agree with that statement?
No. I think we're still dealing with serious inflationary pressures, and we've got unemployment issues. We've got a lot of problems. I mean, just look at the Federal Reserve, the way it has been raising interest rates after a prolonged period of keeping them at near zero, and causing sort of artificially stimulating the economy and causing malinvestment and triggering inflation. Now trying to dial back inflation, they're crushing other industries and businesses. I think we're going to see some real estate problems and maybe another housing bust. But we've already seen some almost run on banks. We've seen some failed banks, with Silicon Valley Bank being a prominent one, and FTX being another one. And those aren't good things.
I want to give you a website. This is for everybody. This is I'm not going to say anything else about this. You just go to this website, okay? It's usdebtclock.org. Go there and let me know what you think about it.
Oh my goodness. I mean, we've got,
that'll blow your mind.
Well over $30 trillion. $1,000.
And those numbers is live. Okay, this is real time. It's just on and on and on and on and on and on and on. That should scare the daylights out of everybody.
Well, and we just had this debate in Congress, federal Congress, over the debt ceiling and raising the debt ceiling and approving the budget and all that. But how long can this go? I mean,
it can't.
It can't. Right now, just the interest alone on that debt is astronomical. How can we ever pay it off? It's unbelievable.
Okay, and we only have 5 minutes left. I wish we had 2 more hours because I have so many things I want to talk to you about. Let's talk about Trump right now. Okay, so the smoking gun, we've heard all. I'm at the point now, I'm just yawning every time I hear something. This is the one. This is going to get him this time. We've heard that a million times. Yeah. What's going to happen if we don't get him back as president?
Well, if what you mean is what's going to happen if Joe Biden continues as president, I would say nothing. I would say nothing good, because I really think that we are at a state of fracture unlike any we've seen since the Civil War. And I'm not suggesting that we would militarize or anything like that, but I do think that the bifurcation of states into red states and blue states, and the way that red states are sort of cultivating an economy of their own, whereas blue states are cultivating an economy of their own. Red states are divesting from different asset management firms and from ESG. They are coordinating. Republicans' attorneys general are coordinating on lawsuits. I mean, I've never seen something like this before, where the sort of the defined lines of where states stand are becoming easier. I mean, we really only have like 6 states that are going to define the next election, because we pretty much know where 44 states are going to vote. The ones that are up in the air are Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. You know, at this point, we sort of know that Florida's now red. Ohio is pretty much going to be red. Virginia is pretty much going to be blue. They're not swing states anymore. So, you know, you kind of have where all but 6 states sort of know where they would fall if the United States broke up in another country. And, you know, just because Marjorie Taylor Greene is the first person to bring up national divorce and she's a controversial figure doesn't mean that it's not a legitimate topic for mainstream discussion. And it may get to the point where things get so bad that we have to look at decentralization and diffusion of power, dispersal of power, and you know, a sort of a major political realignment. There's nothing that guarantees that the United States of America will exist forever and ever under the jurisdictional boundaries and territorial parameters that it possesses currently. So,
but this is the thing though about your silent majority. Okay, Trump could, I've mentioned this several times, Trump could come to Geraldine, Alabama, and thousands of people would be here. I would say probably 100,000 people would be here to see him. He's still gathering the crowds. What does that tell you?
Well, I think there's definitely a lot of support for Trump and Trumpism still. And, you know, one unfortunate thing is that I think DeSantis embodied a lot of that. And I hate to see that the two of them going back and forth and having people choose sides, because, you know, they are representative of the same sort of general movement. And, you know, they offer something very different from, like, I don't know, a Mike Pence or certainly like an Asa Hutchinson. And I'm
sorry, I laugh every time I hear that.
I know. I mean, I don't know what Asa Hutchinson.
Why is he doing that? I mean, you make money off of running for president. Is it like?
Yeah, you get the more fame you get, the more opportunities you get for consulting gigs, and you know,
whatever.
More info, but, I mean, if you're Asa Hutchinson, you got to know you got no shot. But you get to go on TV a lot, because
you get to be seen. Yeah,
if you criticize Trump, then and you call yourself a conservative, then the left just throws money at you. So it's actually lucrative. If you want to make money, you don't align yourself with Trump. You align yourself with, you know, you say, I'm a conservative that doesn't like Trump, and then all of a sudden people throw money at you.
Less than a minute left in this segment. Who do you think Trump will pick for his running mate?
I don't know. I do get the impression that Vivek Ramaswamy is positioning himself for that possibility. He certainly isn't coming out swinging at Trump, and he's been very supportive of Trump. And of course, he came out and said that if I'm elected president, I will pardon Trump. He is a young, charismatic figure. He's only 37 years old, from Ohio, which is, like I mentioned earlier, leaning red. You know, he established Strive Asset Management, which is doing such great work and pushing back against the Blackrocks in the ESG movement. And
it would be a good
one. Yeah, I think, he's inspiring. It would be, it wouldn't surprise me to see him be the nominee. And I think a lot of the others are already, you know, out of play. I think Nikki Haley.
You mean you don't think Chris Christie has a shot?
Yeah, but, you know, it's just funny to see how the mainstream media and the legacy media trot him out, thinking that, you know, he's going to.
Oh, I remember when it was a different thing a few years ago.
Well, I mean, a decade ago, maybe a little more than a decade ago, he was the big thing, you know, but those days are gone. He's still the big thing, but
yeah, he's still big, but not in the way we're saying.
Not politically.
Alan, we're going to have to call it a day. We need more time. Thank you so much for being on the show. And how can folks find your books again?
AlanMendenhall.com, www.AlanMendenhall.com.
Awesome. Hang around after the broadcast. We'll pick another date for you to come back next month. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good, Donna.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching. We'll have to let you go, but we're going to get Alan right back. Okay. Thank you again so much for watching.